I met a couple of producers here at the festival, you know, that they said they wanted to make it themselves. And I know for a long time, Mr. Arion resisted that. I guess he was waiting for the right time, maybe the right script, the right feeling.
Because did you ever see this script?
It was in existence about 2 years before he passed away. It was important to me to do justice to the book because it's such a beloved piece of literature by one of Curaçao's greatest writers. And he passed away 2 days before I traveled down to Curaçao to start pre-productions.
What made a novel so special for you?
Even though it takes place on a small Caribbean island, it's such a universal story. These are universal people. I think everybody knows a boo-boo. Everybody knows a manchi. You know, they're almost archetypes, those four guys. And the way they live their lives, you know, is the way they play that game of dominoes. And that universal story, and have it come to a head during a game of dominoes in that environment, that setting, with that light and that landscape, was something I could not resist. And I wanted to just really bring that to the world. And, you know, big challenge was, how am I going to shoot a game of dominoes and make it cinematic?
Chamo was a cautious man. Being a foreigner, that wasn't a bad idea. Manchi considered the game to be beneath him. He wished he could play bridge, like the Macambas. Ernesto was the strategist, smarter than the others, and always one step ahead of them.
And I started thinking of them as a duel, almost like a Western, a duel. And one of my favorite filmmakers is Sergio Leone. And the great part about his duels is that a lot of it is what's happening here with the eyes of the character, you know, how he's looking at his opponent, you know, and that's what I wanted to do here. You know, we see these guys playing, we see them look at each other, we see them looking at their partners and plotting and strategizing and everything. And it's played at a round table, just like Sergio Leone used to stage his westerns in a circular arena, because the circle represents life. And to me, that's why I wanted a round table there, because that would represent life, like we say in the film. You know, they play dominoes the way they live their lives. So,
my father played for fun, because it was the only game he knew well enough to win.
The game! Austin! Papa is king.
They really became crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, when I was preparing the film on the island, when the actors came, I would take them out on some nights, Friday nights and Saturday nights. We'd go looking for domino games at some of the snack shops, you know, so that they could actually play with the real people and see how real guys were playing. We went to a domino competition one time, but it wasn't right because those were, you know, had rules. You know, it was very rigid and very controlled. But that's not the way the real domino players play in the snack shops. They go for it. They're like, you know, they really go at it. So that's what we did. We would drive around and find games, and my actors became really good domino players, you know, just doing that for several weekends.
Were you involved in the development of the film?
Yes. The screenplay had been written.
It was by a Dutch guy, I believe.
Yeah, two Dutch guys. One of them lives on the island, one of them lives on Curaçao, Alaric Smeets. They did the screenplay and they were trying to get it developed. The script was sent to me by Lisa Cortez, the producer of the film. And when I read it, it hit me immediately. Since I had been coming to the island, going to Curaçao since 1984. Yeah, I'd already photographed. I was the director of photography on 2 films that were shot on Curaçao for the filmmaker Felix Duroy. I shot Almacita de Desolato, and that was in '85. And then in 1989, I photographed Ava and Gabriel. So I knew the island very well. It's interesting because it has 2 weather systems that travel through the island. One part of the island is a desert right next to the ocean, which is an interesting juxtaposition. You know, you have this desert with this red earth, cactuses, you know, all thorny plants, and then on the horizon you can see waves crashing. You know, you can see boom, you can see the surf, the explosion of that, and it's such a visual, you know, it's so weird visually. It's something that I also saw because we shot in that same desert when I photographed Almacita de Desolato. We were in that desert, and it was just an interesting place. But then the other side of the island is more lush. That's where the water is calmer. That's where the beaches are. Crystal clear waters. Yeah, I mean, it's almost surreal how and how paradoxical it is. Well, it's just it makes it a tough environment because so much of the plant life on the island is tough. It's thorny. And the people are tough. You know, the women are tough, tough and beautiful. But color is something as a cinematographer, I always used as a way of expressing thoughts or feelings or ideas. I think too many films today take color for granted. They don't use color. It's just there, so they just go with it. But color is something that needs to be controlled and used expressively, I believe. And the colors on the island, especially in the architecture, are striking because I think in the 16 to 1700s, a law was passed on the island forbidding people to paint their houses white because the glare from the sun, from the sun reflecting off the white buildings was hurting people's eyes. And so a mandate came down that people had to use color on the facades of their houses. And so people just started going wild with color. So if you ever go to Curaçao, you'll see houses that are red, pink, yellow, orange, blue, like Boo Boo's house was blue. That gave me the leeway to use color a little bit more expressively and actually realistically, because that's the way it is there. That song was actually a redo of a song that was sung by Celia Cruz, who, when she left Cuba, she lived in Curaçao for a while. And all of her music had been done in Spanish, except for that one song that she recorded in Papiamentu. And we got Aimee Nuviola, who is the singer, and she recreated that song. And it's interesting because Aimee had been playing Celia Cruz in the teleseries about the life of Celia Cruz. So so she sang that. She brought that song back, you know. So it's a little bit of history, kind of like repeating itself there.
In my feeling, Boo Boo is the protagonist.
Well, he is in the book. In the book, it only takes place in 1973, but it's interesting because some of the things that happen in the book are left kind of unresolved by the end of the novel, and I thought the screenwriters did a great job of the framing device of the modern day Ostrich as an older man coming back and trying to come to terms and reconcile himself with his home, the island that he left so long ago. He had divorced himself from the island, and he learns to love it again. And I think it was great to do it that way because it's another way of pulling the audience in and introducing them to Curaçao before you take them into the past, into this 1973 domino game.